Well, from tomorrow and over the next few days, the African Union Commission is holding elections for its leadership. The Deputy Director General in the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, Lerato Mataboge, is vying for the position on the Infrastructure and Energy Commission. She joins us now to chat more. Lerato, good morning to you and thank you for your time. What do you think the AU's major priorities should be in infrastructure and energy? What should the AU be focusing on in these areas?
Thank you very much, Stephen, and to your viewers. We are approaching this election at a time when we've just concluded the 10-year review of implementation of Agenda 2063. And infrastructure deficit and addressing our infrastructure deficit is a key priority that has come out that we need to be focusing on as a union. Of priority is identifying and prioritizing cross-border infrastructure. We've noted that Africa remains chronically connected, whether we're talking railroad, even aviation. Most people, if they have to go to another country on the continent, would have to fly out to Europe and then come back in. So there's a need for interconnectivity. The second thing is there's a need for us to have urgently bankable projects. So we need to put money in for project preparation, and it's about consolidating the different funds that we have on our continent to get us over the line. And of course, energy is a big priority. The whole debate and discussion around transition and the mode in which we are going to be able to address our energy poverty on the continent, talking about a continent with 600 million people plus that have zero access to electricity, let alone any access to any other modes of energy. So energy sustainability, energy that is reliable to fund and to drive rather our industrialization, critical areas of work that we'll have to attend to urgently as an AU.
I'm going to come back to energy in just a moment, but in terms of infrastructure, we've known this for a very long time. You talk about bankable projects, and there are many things that we need, but probably two of the chief ones are better governance, which leads to more certainty for long-term projects. If you're going to build a dam that's going to take you 7 to 10 years, you need to know that it's going to have the support of whichever government is in power, that there'll be no corruption, all of that. At the same time, you need money and resources to do it. And isn't that, and hasn't it always been really the problem, those two big issues?
Those are the big issues, and one of the important steps that we will be taking as the AU, should we be granted the privilege to be in the position, is to work closely with the regional economic communities and the member states. We need intergovernmental agreements that provide the political certainty for some of the projects, particularly if we speak in cross-border projects. We also need to aggregate, the contribution of some of our DFIs, development finance institutions, and the guarantees that are required in that regard. One positive development that has occurred since the inception of Agenda 2063 10 years ago till today is that for the first time on the continent, we've got a dispute settlement mechanism that has been put together through the implementation of the Continental Free Trade Agreement. And that is going to be quite a game changer because it provides the certainty that we require on the continent. So anybody doing business on the continent, whether trading or investing, would have an independent body to go to should any disputes arise. So that's quite a pivotal step. And I think it's important that African citizens are aware and our potential partners both on the continent and externally are aware that these are the developments that we have made and the strides that have been made on the continent. We now need to make sure that on the ground, we activate the necessary agreements, intergovernmental agreements for certainty. We put in our development finance institutions, including, say, in South Africa, our ECIC, Export Credit Insurance Corporation, to provide the political risk coverage that is required in many of these projects. So there's a lot to be done, but the positive aspects is that we do have the ingredients, as it were, to get us to success.
Imagine being the assessor for political risk for an insurance company. Sounds like a fascinating job, if I may say. There are other things around energy that are really important. And one of them, of course, is the way that electricity works. So even 30 years ago, 20 years ago, if you wanted to say, we are going to provide electricity to millions of people across a certain region, the way you would do it is through power stations and a grid. Now, you still need a grid, obviously, to run a big city, to run industry. But for citizens, and we see this, in South Africa, obviously, there are now other ways to do it, particularly through sort of self-generated solar power. There are huge opportunities here for the millions of people in our continent who don't have electricity, for them through a sort of once-off payment, maybe, they need capital for that, to provide themselves with electricity. I mean, this area is changing so quickly now.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. I think we've entered an era of decentralization. Decentralized service provision, as it were, including decentralized decision making, if we need to take it that far. So we are quite appreciative of the moment of history that we are in and the solutions that we have. And one country that has done this very well is Kenya. For example, their rural electrification program and the off-grid solutions using solar and their funding model is quite intriguing. So part of what we want to do, once in the position, is also to leverage the peer learning from some of our member states in the African Union that have successes in various areas of implementation. Because, we don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel all the time. Many countries are successful in many aspects. I know that Egypt in the area of renewables is quite advanced. So again, how do we leverage the peer learning so that we are impactful, we accelerate implementation, and we move the continent forward?
You're someone who wants to be a part of the African Union Commission. It's a fascinating time to be there. You say that you support regional integration. Lerato, how far would you go? I mean, time to get rid of our borders, maybe?
We certainly need to integrate, but the most priority level of integration, Stephen, is our hard infrastructure integration. If our rail things are still not connected, whether or not we've got a border is immaterial. If our road connectivity is still not there, again, whether or not we put down our borders, it does not matter. What matters really is that we've got the actual physical infrastructure that enables our citizens to move, our goods and services to move within the continent. And that is priority because we still have, the quintessential commodity to port model of infrastructure development. We need interconnectivity on the continent. And without that, whether or not we put down tariffs, whether or not we put down borders, it will be immaterial. So we do need to have hard infrastructure. And that's the priority right now.
Nice sidestep. You currently work at the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, and it's a department that's actually in a really interesting space at the moment for various reasons. You've got a relatively new minister, someone with lots of experience, Parks Tau from the ANC. You have Andrew Whitfield from the Democratic Alliance. If you win and you go to the African Union Commission, are you going to miss working in the DTIC?
I certainly will miss working in the DTIC, but I will continue to be working with the DTIC because the priority of being at the African Union is to work with all member states and all departments to advance our integration agenda. And certainly from a South Africa standpoint, the DTIC is quite pivotal in that agenda. So this is somewhat, if you will, an extension of that work in advancing our continental priorities. By sending me, if you will, to the AU.
Lerato, I don't have a mandate from our viewers to wish you good luck, but at least from me, and I think from everyone watching, good luck for the election this week.